What's up EFD? Today we're counting down 10 clubs in serious decline. But which side in Europe are you most worried about right now? Let us know in the comments and the one with the most likes will get read out on Sunday Vibes. Anyway, let's go. 10. Tottenham. Although they didn't have any silverware to show for it, Mauricio Pochettino's Tottenham were one of Europe's best sides on their day, with their ability to press high, play out from the back and break at speed, making them a force to be reckoned with. And not only were they superbly coached, but they had star quality all over the pitch. From Kane, Son and Ali up top to Moussa Dembele pulling strings in midfield, Rose and Walker dominating the flank and Alderweireld and Vertonghen keeping it composed at the back. They finished in the top 3 for 3 consecutive seasons between 2015 and 2018, something which they hadn't done since the 1960s, and of course reached the Champions League final in Poch's final full campaign. The decision to sack him following a dismal start to the 1920 season looks worse by the day. Despite a couple of promising spells, Jose Mourinho ultimately proved an ineffective appointment, with the side finishing 7th in 2021, their lowest placing since 2009. And crucially, the club was slow to replace its ageing stars, with Pochettino backed by almost no top quality signings after the summer of 2015. And since his departures, players like Ndombele and Lo Celso have yet to shine in the way they did prior to arriving in North London, while Dele Alli looks a shadow of his former self. With only Norwich and Watford taking fewer shots than them in the Prem this season, the days of Spurs being an exciting attacking outfit look well and truly over. 9. Juventus. When you've totally dominated a competition for over a decade, there will inevitably be a drop-off at some point. And right now, that is what is happening to Juventus. Not only did they fail to win a 10th consecutive Scudetto in 2021, but they only just scraped Champions League qualification, while the reappointment of Max Allegri was indicative of a club losing faith with its attempts to progress from its previous era. There's certainly an argument that the side have been unfortunate. Last term, they ranked first for both expected goals and expected goals against in the Italian top flight, and yet finished 13 points behind champions Inter. But whichever way you look at it, it simply isn't good enough for a side that between 2014 and 2019 registered fewer than 90 points in a season just once. In those heady days, Napoli were the only rival that could get anywhere near them. Now Juve are very much part of the chasing pack, despite comfortably still possessing the strongest squad in Italy by market value. Ranking 11th in the league for shots and 7th for shots against suggests that they are far from where they should be on paper. But do you want to hear more about the Bianconeri's decline? Why not check out our explainer on the rise and fall of Juventus after this. 8. Bordeaux. Once a fixture in the top half of Ligue 1 and crowned French champions 6 times, Bordeaux has a rich footballing history. They last won the title in 2009 under Laurent Blanc and as recently as 2018 qualified for the Europa League. But the summer following that campaign, M6, the French media group who had run the club for nearly 2 decades, sold up to US companies General American Capital Partners in King Street, and cracks soon emerged. Manager Gus Poyet was suspended and then fired after accusing the club of selling Gaëtan Laborde behind his back, and they ended up finishing 14th, their lowest placing since 2005. The following campaign saw fans protest for the removal of Frédéric Longoupé as club president, and the 2020-21 season saw them finish just 5 points off relegation. And despite their academy producing both Jules Koundé and Aurélien Tchouameni in recent years, with the pair sold for a combined €43 million, money has also been an issue. In April 2021, King Street announced it was withdrawing its financial support, and the club was placed into administration. Luckily, former Lille owner Gerard Lopez took over in the summer, citing a rescue mission, and gave the club a makeover, hiring Admar Lopez, who had worked under legendary scout Luis Campos as sporting director, and former Swiss national boss Vladimir Petkovic as manager. However, their situation remains worrying. At the time of writing, they sit 17th in Ligue 1, with just 1 win from their opening 11 games. 7. Southampton. Southampton's decline is nothing new. They haven't finished in the top half of the Premier League since 2017, while Danny Ings is the only player since then to have scored 10 or more goals for them across a season. And while Ralph Hasenhüttl remains a respected coach, possessing both tactical pedigree and a willingness to play attacking football, things really haven't been working out for him in 2021. His side have won just 1 league game away from home this calendar year against a hapless Sheffield United, and having sold Ings are now relying on Adam Armstrong to replicate his superb championship form in the Prem. He has just 1 goal from 8 appearances so far. The Saints continue to run a tight ship. Since 2017-18, only Brentford and Norwich have racked up a lower net spend than them among current top flight clubs. But when the team isn't improving, it begs the question whether the club's ownership is doing enough to back the manager in the market. Even with a thin squad, relegation shouldn't be an option for a Southampton side which still boasts some impressive young talent. But there's no doubt Hasenhüttl needs to turn things around this season. 6. Saint Etienne. But one club for which relegation seems an increasing possibility right now is Saint Etienne. The French outfit, who along with Marseille still hold the record for most league titles, are rock bottom of Ligue 1 after 11 games, with no wins to their name and with the worst attacking and defensive record in the division. It's pretty crazy to think then that they were competing for Champions League football as recently as 2019. Following the resignation of manager Jean-Louis Gasset that same year and his replacement with Claude Puel, things have gone downhill for Les Verts. They finished 17th in his first campaign, albeit after it was ended early by the global pandemic, and could only finish 6 points above relegation in 2021. But Puel hasn't been helped by the club's lack of investment. Despite making around €100 million in player sales over the last 2 years, less than 20 million of that has been reinvested in the squad, and in April 2021 the club was officially put up for sale. At the time of writing, they are still looking for a buyer. 5. Werder Bremen. Relegated from the Bundesliga for the first time in 41 years in the summer, Werder Bremen have already dropped off the pace in their bid to bounce back up. They currently sit in 10th, 7 points off the promotion playoff, having suffered heavy defeats to Paderborn, Dynamo Dresden and Darmstadt in the first 2 months of the campaign. Having kept hold of Milot Rashica in 2020, when they could have bagged around €30 million for him, the club ended up selling him to Norwich for just 11 million following relegation, and only reinvested about 10% of the €33.5 million they made in sales on new players in the summer just past, as they contended with €75 million worth of debt. As it stands, they don't look best placed to make it back to the top flight. And it was a swift fall. The joint third most successful club in Germany by major honours won, Die Werderaner finished 8th as recently as 2018-19, a season in which they also beat Dortmund on their way to the DFB Pokal semi-finals, where they were narrowly beaten by Bayern Munich. But after avoiding the drop by winning the relegation playoff in 2020, things got so desperate last term that technical director Thomas Schaaf, who led the club to the League and Cup double as manager in 2004, was brought back into the dugout for the final match of the season following a run of 8 losses in 9 games. It didn't work, and the club is now one of a number of fallen giants in the German second tier. 4. Derby County. Once considered one of English football's great underdogs, Derby County won their first league title under the legendary Brian Clough in 1972, reaching the semi-finals of the European Cup the following year. And while they haven't featured very prominently in the top flight since the dawn of the Premier League, spending a total of just 7 seasons in the competition and infamously recording its lowest ever points total in 2007, they have often been among the sides challenging hardest for promotion from the Championship. The last 2 years, however, have been bleak for the Rams. They narrowly escaped relegation with some pretty good fortune on the final day of the 2021 campaign, and have since been placed into administration by owner Mel Morris, who ran the club into massive debts after big spending failed to land them promotion. This has seen them docked 12 points, leaving them bottom of the Championship despite losing just 3 of their opening 13 games. And with Morris yet to find a buyer, Mike Ashley has recently been touted as a possible new owner at Pride Park as this goes out. This may not even be as bad as it gets for fans of Derby. 3. Schalke. Schalke may currently look better placed to bounce back to the Bundesliga than the aforementioned Werder Bremen, but they have nevertheless suffered an almost incomprehensible decline over the last few years. 7-time Bundesliga champions and the second biggest club in Germany by membership, their 2021 campaign, in which they were relegated with just 16 points, a record low this century, was the stuff of nightmares. The club sacked 3 different managers, saw debts climb to over €200 million, and didn't record a victory in the league for almost a year. Not even returning hero Klaas-Jan Huntelaar could save the day, and they were inevitably forced to sell their best players on the cheap following demotion. Years of unsustainable spending finally caught up with the historic club, with the financial downturn of the global pandemic compounding their troubles. Luckily, they were able to pick up Bundesliga legend Simon Terodde from Hamburg on a free, and he is once again leading the scoring charts in the second tier. 2. Barcelona. We've spoken enough over the last year about Barcelona's financial troubles and the causes of them, so let's take a look at how they are regressing on the field. Lionel Messi's departure was always going to have a detrimental effect on the side, and a club once known for possessing the fiercest attack in Europe now looks almost unrecognisable. So far in the 2021-22 season, they are averaging just 11.6 shots per game, ranking 6th in La Liga for this metric below Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad. They also rank 11th for chances created, below Osasuna and bottom place Getafe, while Memphis Depay is the only squad member to register over 2 key passes a match, with only 3 other teammates averaging more than 1. This has made for strange viewing. While the Blaugrana had been far off the level of the likes of Man City and Bayern in recent seasons, they had still managed to conjure up spells of unplayable form. But as many suspected, this was almost entirely down to Messi. With the Argentinian talisman gone, they now look incredibly ordinary. 1. Deportivo La Coruña. But arguably no Spanish fan base has witnessed as big a decline over the last 20 years as supporters of Deportivo La Coruña. They pipped a Barcelona side containing Rivaldo and Luis Figo to the La Liga title in 2000, and 2 years later beat a Real Madrid side featuring Raúl Zidane and Roberto Carlos in the Copa del Rey final, as players like Juan Carlos Valerón and Roy Mackay emerged as some of the most sought-after talents in world football. But by the mid-2000s, the side was beginning to drop off. Club president Augusto César Lendoiro, who had bankrolled the club's success with some seriously busy summers in the late 1990s, drastically cut back on spending in the face of mounting debt. Whereas they had spent almost €40 million per season on average between 1996 and 2002, they spent just €41 million in total between 2003 and 2009. Having finished in the top 3 each season between 1999 and 2004, they failed to place higher than 7th in the second half of the decade. Relegation then followed in 2011, and after bouncing back up went straight back down in 2013, a year in which the club revealed debts of €156 million and were placed under administration before Lendoiro resigned. And despite his successor Tino Fernandes halving the club's debts, they were relegated once again in 2018, and this time didn't recover. They dropped down to the 3rd tier 2 years later, and they remain there to this day. So those were our 10 clubs in serious decline, but can you name any more? Let us know in the comments below and we'll do our best to reply. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe to Euro Football Daily if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, catch you next time.